So, real quick, how to try and start this video. These oil catch cans do work. Now that you know that they work, and you don't have to take my eye for it, you can look at other videos on YouTube. I'm going to break down the whole thing before I open my catch can myself on this little 2.3 liter Honda VTEC engine. 4-cylinder, of course, as you can see. So one day at work, I was like, hey, you know what? I talked to my coworkers and said, I'm thinking about getting an oil catch can for my car. And a couple of them said, oh no, it's not going to work because it's not a performance engine. It doesn't have, high combustion. And they said, it's for high rev applications as well. And no offense to, of course, my coworkers and friend, but when I went to school with my friend, I also told him the same thing. He said the same thing. It won't work. You'll barely see anything with these things, and it's more for high rev applications, for racing and yada yada yada. Where you're always bearing the throttle and whatever. It's made for race cars, is what both of them said. So of course I'm like, whatever, so I get a catch can, and it seems like whatever. It seemed like it actually didn't do anything for the first couple miles, but to my eyes, when I actually got it and started driving around, of course, it worked very well. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's oil for my engine. And that's a lot of it. So, went on the Dodge Challenger forum, or Daily Drivers, Dodge Challenger Daily Drivers forum on Facebook page, whatever you want to call it. And this one guy, I think with the V6 or V8, said, hey, I'm thinking about getting an oil catch can. What do you guys think? And a lot of them said the same thing. They said it won't work. It won't work for your car, yada yada. And I thought, how odd. Facebook mechanics, right? So of course, I messaged this guy, made the same video. And I said, I drive an F23A, which is a 2.3 liter engine, 4-cylinder. Unscrewed this and showed him. And I said, it doesn't matter what fucking cylinder engine you're driving, because oil will still get into your intake. So I'll go ahead and break this down for you why that happens. So of course in your engine, pistons move up and down. Now some of the gas, or gases, whatever, will release through your piston rings and go into your crankcase, where all the oil basically sits when your car, and it just sits there until it needs to shoot back up to your valve cover and then oil all your parts up there. So in your crankcase, it comes up as positive pressure, and all that oil hits the top of your valve cover to go ahead and oil all of your parts. Now when it comes up and hits your valve cover, that's positive valve cover pressure. The thing is when they build these vehicles, the hose goes out of this little thing right here directly into your intake manifold, and it's just a cycle rotation. So what this catch can does, as you can see, is it gets redirected into your catch can atmosphere and then shoots fresh air into your intake manifold. So some of these things will have a little dipstick to tell you how much oil basically goes in, or how much oil you have in your oil level before you have to change it. This is just a very cheap, basic Amazon setup, $30, very cheap. If I were you, I wouldn't get one of these. But the oil will hit this baffled. It's not even a screen, it's a baffled, and then it'll start dripping into the catch can. And then you're going to hope that the oil doesn't go in there. But as you see, that's quite a bit of oil. That's almost halfway full. Anyways, when the container is on, check your oil level, see that it's not even full. You definitely don't want this thing to be halfway full or full, because think about it. That thing's full, well, that oil is going to want to go inside there. But here's a quick question real quick. So they recommend you changing these things at whatever mileage, let's say 12,000 miles. But if you change this religiously, why is there still gunk and nasty debris and oil residue getting inside your intake? Not a lot of people think about this like I do. So pay attention to my video. My distributor is on this side, and my timing belt is on this side. Going to my truck that my engine was pulled and put in the back of, and it looked a lot nastier when I first got it pulled, besides the raining conditions. But so there was a good amount of gunk back there in each one of my intake things, and there still is. besides it being weathered. See all that buildup right there on the top? That's oil residue. So you can see that whereas closer to where the hose goes into my intake manifold, seems to be building up a lot more gunk residue on my engine. And that's what they found out in the statistics and studies. But it's my intake. There's my deal there. There's my timing belt. This is the intake side that you're looking at. So thankfully, Engineering Explained, that I linked into my comments, my description, went ahead and broke that down for a lot of people that didn't understand how these things worked. So real quick right here, oil hits the top of your valve cover and, you know, all these holes and stuff, and it basically lubricates all these parts you see right here. Your rocker arms, bearings, all that crap. And of course, there's your valve cover hole where your positive pressure is, where it leaves the manifold. So you can only imagine how much oil gets sprayed up here and how much oil goes through that hole, because it is pressure. So think about it. If you didn't have an oil catch can, think about your engine running and just pouring all this oil into your intake at once or over time. And that's basically what it's doing. That little guy right there fills up like it is right now for about 2 or 3 months. And that's of course if I'm not womping on my engine and constantly bearing the throttle. That's of course, you know, if I'm not on the highway at long periods of time, this won't happen. Now the cool thing about these catch cans is, let's say you poured and you thought you poured a lot of, you know, the correct amount of oil in your engine. You went to start it. And let's say it's overfilled, right? So that oil overfilled will start going into your intake manifold. But if you have a catch can, that will go to the catch can first. The catch can will catch it before it goes into your intake manifold. So the best part about these companies that I have listed here is they're making millions off of us. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We need their products to keep our engines clean. And that's of course without these catch cans. You see, I understand putting food on tables of hard workers. By all means, do it. You know, I'm all for that. But we're fooling ourselves when we don't have one of these, because we constantly put this and this in our gasoline. We constantly get the highest grade gasoline with detergents and Shell V-Power and all this other bullshit. And we think that we're really cleaning our vehicles. Oh no, we got Shell V-Power. And when I talk to my friends that buy brand new vehicles that do nothing but high octane, yeah, that Shell V-Power is really helping out. That's definitely good. Sure, that's exhaust soot. I mean, that's on any vehicle, you know what I mean? Well, there's supposed to be detergents in there. I get that when you burn gasoline, all that burnt stuff goes in your exhaust and whatnot, and that's fine and all. But how much is it really, you know, keeping the vehicles clean? So no kidding, we put these products in our gas tanks, whether we follow the correct amount or we put a lot, to try and keep them clean. I mean, every so often, and I don't do this a lot, every so often I'll put these in my gas tanks. Maybe every other fill-up, or 4 or 5 fill-ups down the line, and I'll put another one. Just like on these Hondas, which is my favorite part. There you go. Bam. Right there, a little entry area. I like to take the seafoam spray while the car's running, put the long hose in there, and start spraying and trying to clean this shit out. Or I'll just take that out and start spraying it in the tube. But, you know, I don't understand why a lot of people don't go for these types of things. And then when they tear their engine apart and they look at how gummed up their pistons and their intake valves are, and then they kind of wonder, well, I've been using cleaners all the time. I've been using the high premium fuel. I don't know why it's not working. You know, that's because, you know, they're making good money off of us. Instead, we should be using, I don't know, an oil catch can, because that's the real ticket right there. That's the real thing that we should be using. Alright, so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and dump this shit out. Of course, this thing's wider than my little can. Could have used the skinny bottle, made it look a lot more. But there you go. Bam. Just like that. All that oil that was in there. Now, I don't think that those little sparklies are from my engine, but could be. You never know. But, you know, oil catch can. What can you say? So, if anybody tells you that an oil catch can won't work on a V6, V8, V10, V12, even a 4-cylinder, well, this is proof. You really don't need to listen to them. Do your own research, honestly. That's what I'll tell you. That's what I've told my friends in Job Corps when I went to computers, to do computers, to be a technician. I'll never forget what Jay Bendrup told me and all the other classmates. He said, go to your coworkers and ask them for advice and for help. And if they can't help you, go on Google. Google is your best friend. You'll learn out pretty much anything and everything you need to learn. But if that doesn't help and it fails, go on YouTube. Because chances are, someone on the World Wide Web has done it before you. And you're going to learn from them.